The helicopter never lands. It hangs just above the treetops, blades slicing through the darkness, while ropes drop into a world that seems to swallow every sound. Below, there are no streetlights, no friendly faces, and no certainty that anyone waiting on the ground doesn't already know you're coming. Inside the aircraft, no one is talking. Every movement is deliberate. A gloved hand checks a weapon one final time. Night vision goggles turn a black jungle into an eerie world of glowing green shadows. The smell of hydraulic fluid mixes with sweat and aviation fuel. Every heartbeat feels louder than the engines outside. The mission clock has already started. Somewhere beyond the trees is a person who has spent years avoiding capture. Perhaps a terrorist commander. Perhaps a hostage. Perhaps a cache of intelligence that could stop another attack before it begins. No one aboard knows exactly what will happen after their boots touch the ground. Because plans rarely survive first contact, movies often portray special operations as relentless action, constant gunfire, daring rescues, and impossible heroics. Reality is different. Most of the mission is built long before the first helicopter lifts off. It begins with patience, planning, restraint, and the quiet acceptance that every decision may carry consequences measured in lives. For the operators, success often looks invisible. No medals in public, no interviews, sometimes not even an acknowledgement that the mission ever happened. So what is it actually like to go on a mission inside one of America's special operations units? The answer begins long before anyone picks up a rifle. The modern battlefield no longer has clear front lines. Threats emerge inside crowded cities, isolated mountain villages, dense jungles, deserts, cyberspace, and even commercial shipping lanes. Conventional armies are designed to fight large wars. But some problems demand something smaller, faster, and far more precise. That need gave rise to America's special operations community. Rather than overwhelming an enemy with numbers, these units specialize in missions where failure is not an option and collateral damage must remain as close to zero as possible. Counterterrorism, hostage rescue, strategic reconnaissance, direct action, foreign internal defense, unconventional warfare. Each mission asks for something different, but they all share one principle: small teams accomplishing objectives that entire battalions cannot. Becoming one of these operators is extraordinarily difficult. Selection courses are designed to eliminate almost everyone who attempts them. Physical endurance matters, but mental discipline matters even more. Fatigue can be trained. Panic cannot. The result is a force where trust becomes the most valuable weapon anyone carries. Long before helicopters appear in the sky, someone notices something unusual. An intercepted message, a satellite image, a suspicious financial transfer, a phone that suddenly becomes active after months of silence. Most missions begin as fragments. Analysts from multiple intelligence agencies compare information gathered from satellites, reconnaissance aircraft, intercepted communications, human informants, and surveillance teams already operating in the region. Individually, none of these clues tell the whole story. Together, they begin revealing a target. But intelligence is rarely perfect. Maps may be outdated, buildings change, vehicles move, people lie. The greatest danger is believing incomplete information is complete. As confidence grows, planners begin asking increasingly difficult questions. Who is inside? Who should not be harmed? What happens if the target escapes? What happens if civilians suddenly enter the area? Every answer changes the mission. Sometimes the mission changes dozens of times before anyone deploys. Sometimes it is canceled minutes before execution. Knowing when not to launch is often considered just as important as knowing when to strike. Once approval is granted, planning becomes relentless. Large maps cover briefing rooms. Three-dimensional models recreate buildings. Drone footage is examined frame by frame. Operators memorize doors, staircases, rooftops, escape routes, nearby villages, electrical lines, and even where animals tend to gather. Nothing is considered too small. A barking dog can compromise an entire operation. A locked metal gate can delay entry by precious seconds. A parked truck can block the fastest escape route. Every possibility is discussed, then discussed again. The mission becomes a series of branching decisions. If this happens, do this. If communication fails, do that. If the helicopter cannot land, use another insertion point. If weather changes, switch aircraft. The goal is not predicting the future. It is removing surprise wherever possible. Ironically, the more flexible the team becomes, the more disciplined the planning must be. The waiting may be the hardest part. Equipment is laid out with obsessive precision. Helmet, body armor, night vision, medical kit, communications, ammunition, water. Every item has a purpose. Every unnecessary gram becomes another burden carried across miles of unforgiving terrain. Weapons receive one last inspection. Not because anyone doubts them, because mechanical failures happen without warning. Inside the briefing room, voices remain calm. Questions are encouraged. Assumptions are challenged. No one wants uncertainty hiding beneath confidence. Outside, daylight fades. Darkness becomes an ally. The aircraft waits. The mission transitions from theory to reality. There is a strange moment during every deployment. The aircraft lifts off. Civilization begins disappearing beneath the horizon. Roads become rivers. Cities become isolated lights. Eventually, even those disappear. Conversation fades. Most communication now happens through simple gestures. Operators review the mission inside their minds again and again. Not because they forgot, because repetition reduces hesitation. As the aircraft approaches hostile territory, electronic warfare systems monitor the environment for threats. Pilots adjust routes to avoid known radar coverage. Altitude changes, speed changes, the destination grows closer. No one knows whether the enemy is asleep, watching, or already preparing. The landing zone is never truly secure. Sometimes helicopters touch down for only a few seconds. Sometimes they never land at all. Operators descend by rope, parachute into darkness, arrive by small boats, climb cliffs, or move for hours on foot after being dropped miles away. The insertion is often one of the most dangerous moments. Noise travels. Dust reduces visibility. Rotor wash reveals movement. Even perfect planning cannot eliminate risk. Once on the ground, everything changes. Technology becomes secondary. Human senses take over. Every sound matters. A closing door, footsteps, an engine starting somewhere beyond the trees. The mission has entered its most unpredictable phase. Progress is surprisingly slow. Movies often show operators sprinting toward objectives. Reality favors patience. Every intersection is observed. Every window is considered. Every rooftop becomes a possible observation point. Communication remains brief. Sometimes nothing more than a whispered word or silent hand signal. Each operator watches a different direction. Each trusts the others to do exactly the same. This shared awareness creates something remarkable. The team begins functioning almost like a single organism. Everyone moves, everyone stops, everyone reacts, without unnecessary words. Years of training reduce complex decisions into instinct. Contrary to popular belief, the ideal mission involves no shooting at all. If the objective can be completed without firing a single round, that is usually considered the best outcome. But plans rarely unfold perfectly. A guard notices movement. A radio transmission goes unanswered. A vehicle arrives unexpectedly. Seconds suddenly become critical. When contact occurs, operators rely on overwhelming speed, communication, and precision rather than chaos. Every movement has already been practiced countless times. Rooms are cleared methodically. Threats are identified rapidly. Civilians must be distinguished from combatants under extraordinary pressure. Mistakes cannot be recalled. Every trigger pull carries legal, strategic, and moral consequences. The objective is never destruction for its own sake. It is accomplishing the mission while minimizing unnecessary harm. Sometimes the mission lasts less than 15 minutes. Years of intelligence work, months of preparation, hours of movement, all compressed into moments. The target may surrender, fight, attempt escape, destroy evidence, or simply not be there. This uncertainty is why intelligence collection continues even during the operation. Computers, phones, hard drives, documents, maps, memory devices. What appears insignificant today may prevent an attack months later. Operators understand that information can be as valuable as any weapon. Occasionally, the most important thing leaving the objective is not a person. It is a backpack filled with digital evidence. Leaving can be harder than arriving. The enemy now knows something has happened. Roadblocks appear, Reinforcements move, radio traffic increases. The team's location becomes increasingly vulnerable with every passing minute. Extraction plans often include multiple alternatives: primary, secondary, emergency. If helicopters cannot reach the team, another method must already exist. Weather changes, mechanical failures happen, landing zones become compromised, flexibility becomes survival. When the aircraft finally lifts away, relief remains temporary. No one celebrates. Not yet. The mission is only complete when everyone returns safely. Back at base, exhaustion competes with responsibility. Weapons are cleaned, equipment is inspected, medical evaluations begin. Then comes the debrief. Every detail matters. What worked? What failed? Which assumptions proved correct? Which nearly caused disaster? The smallest observation can influence future missions. A doorway that opened inward instead of outward. An unexpected security camera. A communication delay lasting only seconds. Lessons accumulate across decades. Special operations evolves not through perfection, but through relentless learning. Success never becomes an excuse to stop improving. The greatest challenge is not always physical danger. It is psychological. Operators spend years preparing for moments most people never experience. Long deployments separate families. Success often remains classified. Failure may become international news. Many missions end without recognition because acknowledging them publicly could compromise intelligence sources or future operations. The emotional burden rarely disappears when the uniform comes off. Hypervigilance, stress, moral complexity, and the transition back into ordinary life become battles of their own. Military organizations have increasingly recognized these challenges, expanding mental health resources and resilience programs. Yet no training can entirely erase the weight carried by people repeatedly placed into situations where life and death decisions must be made within seconds. Behind every operation exists another invisible mission: returning home as the same person who left. For some, that proves to be the hardest objective of all. Special operations is often imagined as a world defined by elite weapons, extraordinary fitness, and impossible missions. Those things certainly exist, but they are not the foundation. The real strength of these units lies somewhere quieter. In discipline before courage, preparation before action, judgment before aggression. The public usually remembers dramatic raids and famous photographs. History often celebrates the final minutes of an operation while overlooking the thousands of invisible hours that made those minutes possible. In many cases, the greatest success is the mission no one ever hears about, the attack that never happens because intelligence was recovered, the hostage quietly returned home, the conflict prevented before it could spread. Most operators will never become household names. Many would prefer it that way, because the profession was never built around recognition. It was built around responsibility. And perhaps that reveals something larger about power itself. The strongest institutions are not always the loudest. The most consequential decisions are rarely made under bright lights. Sometimes they happen in silence, inside a dark helicopter, where no cameras are rolling, no speeches are given, and history has not yet decided whether anyone will remember what happened. Long after the mission ends, the footprints disappear, the aircraft return to base, and classified reports are locked away. But somewhere in the shadows, between preparation and action, between restraint and force, between secrecy and service, another mission is already beginning. And almost no one outside that world will ever know it exists.